The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now, from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here are your hosts of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard and Taylor Welch.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for, well, we'll just say it, December 30th or 31st, depending on when you decide to listen to this. We are recording this on December 30th, but it's really the New Year's Eve special, so to speak. And we'll be talking about a lot of things that has to do with 2025 and even maybe a couple things that have to do with 2026. This is season 15, episode number 33, and episode 547 in the long-running podcast. It is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And you have to tell us right now who's your Impact Player of the Year. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We were just talking about that. She says that we need to save some time to discuss it. Tell the fans, give them a little bit of insight. You kind of like when I presented this to you that we were going to do something like this. We're going to talk about the first part of the show is really going to be about the biggest moments and events of 2025, surrounding the Power Play Post Show and, of course, the Binghamton Black Bears. How you agonized over this.
Well, as soon as you messaged me and said that I had to choose somebody for the calendar year of 2025, I immediately started stressing. No, I mean, I was it's very hard. And this is the whole reason that I put on the fan page to kind of get, the fans involved and, kind of pick their brains a little bit, just so they kind of had an understanding that it's not easy to just narrow it down to one person. It is very, very difficult. And even now, I'm still having a hard time. I'm throwing about 80 ideas back and forth in my head, and I can make arguments for probably every single person on this team. I did sit down and I went back to the very first one that I ever did, which was back in March.
Yep.
When I first started doing this on the show. And I wrote down every single player that I have talked about. And there's a good reason why one person has the most so far in the 2025 year. And I have a feeling that's who I'm going to end up talking about. I could go a couple different ways about it, and I'm still picking my brain about it. But I really enjoyed the fan input. I kind of enjoyed picking their brain and, hearing the different sides and hearing, everybody else pipe in. I know even Sherwood's mom had jumped in there. I'm sure
it's not going to be Brant Sherwood. I am so sorry. I hate to break her heart, but it's not Brant Sherwood. He's not the Impact player because he's the coach right now. So it can't be him. But yeah, I did see the post. I see that you did ask for the fan input, which is great. I love that. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about it, to be honest.
Oh, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I might, pick around your brain a little bit and see what we agree or disagree with. It'll be interesting to find out. But I'm excited and nervous to talk about it at the same time, because I almost feel like highlighting somebody so much, like I don't want people to think that I'm not highlighting others. Mm-hmm. And that's always been like one of the dilemmas that I've had about doing the Impact players is like, even the beginning of this season, I felt like I was writing about Ivan Bondarenko every game. Yeah. At the beginning of the season. And I was like, oh man, like they're going to think that like I'm favoring him or something. And it's definitely, that's not at all what it's like. It's very hard when you have such a talented team and so many talented players to just narrow it down. And I have struggled with this all day. I couldn't even focus on work because I was like just rattling this off in my brain and just coming up with different arguments that I could do.
Wow.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I do have a player in mind, and it'll be interesting to see if you agree with me, because you said that you were going to give me your input.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see if we're thinking the same person or not. So it'll be interesting to find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, as most people are listening to this, more than likely on Wednesday, which is New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve hockey in Binghamton has been probably the longest lasting tradition that has been surrounded with Binghamton hockey. It first started in 1973. Obviously, the Dusters played on New Year's Eve, but they were away. They were in Johnstown, Pennsylvania for that game. They did not play on New Year's Eve the next game, but then after that, it was and became a tradition, a home tradition for the Binghamton hockey clubs. Other than when you go to the Icemen, they played all three of their games out of 5 years, because there were 2 years where they did not. They did not honor the tradition of requesting the home games, but otherwise the Whalers did, and the Rangers did, and the Senators did, and of course the Devils did, except for in 2020 because there was this evil thing out there called COVID-19 that got in the way of that game. But the Black Bears have continued the tradition of New Year's Eve. They've played against the Watertown Wolves twice, the Danbury Hat-Tricks once, the HC Venom once, and now again for the third time they will be playing against the Watertown Wolves, which does kind of really make sense. You want to play probably the closest team on a day like that where it's not a 2 games in a row type of thing. So obviously doing that obviously makes sense. Now all time on New Year's Eve, Binghamton hockey clubs are 29-16, 2-1. They've scored 195 goals and only allowed 162 goals. And just for a fun fact for everyone, Ken Howland, who played for the Broom Dusters and of course the Binghamton Whalers, he played in 5 of those games. No one's even come close to that. He is 2-2-1. And Ken Howland, of course, the former great general manager of the Detroit Red Wings when they won some Stanley Cups. He is born and bred right here in Binghamton with the Broom Dusters and the Binghamton Whalers. So I just wanted to give a little brief history of that. I think the team that played the best maybe on New Year's Eve might have been the Binghamton Senators, who are 11-4. And for Taylor, for you, is this going to be your second or third game on New Year's Eve here in Binghamton?
I think it's our third. Or should be our third.
Because you said
I know we missed last year. Yeah. And his work schedule is very weird this week, so I don't know if he's going to be there tomorrow unless he's off tonight. Right. Well, tomorrow night. But I will definitely be there. Yeah. But I think we've had 3. Nice.
Now I know that the last 2 years, the Black Bears have sold out the game 48-93, and they announced earlier today, as we're recording this here on Tuesday, they have also sold out. So that's 3 years in a row they've sold it out. And honestly, the sellouts really hadn't happened since the Binghamton Senators' early days on New Year's Eve. It's usually a pretty good party. It's almost always 4,000 plus when it comes to attendance on New Year's Eve. And it's a great time. And they do it early enough. I mean, whether it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, which is the normal time for the New Year's Eve games, because some of the games I saw on the schedule, like one team's like playing at 7:30. I think the Indiana Sentinels game is not starting until 7:30. And it's like, I know that still gets you out at 10 o'clock or 10:30 and you got time to get home or get to a party and stuff. But isn't it better if you're leaving the hockey arena at 7:30, 7:45, and you have plenty of time to get wherever you're going to be for New Year's Eve?
Yeah, I feel like the later start times, that's got to hurt the attendance, at least in my opinion.
Right.
And I mean, like you said, it is a lot of time, but at the same time, people like to take their time to either get ready or get to places or just kind of get somewhere early and just kind of settle in and, get ready for whatever might come for the night. So yeah, I wouldn't like the later start time for sure. I would definitely not prefer it be moved to a later time at any point.
Sure.
I like the start time early. I like to get out early. It makes the night just go smoothly, in my opinion. But yeah, the late start time, I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, you just have a lot more space to do what you need to do before, obviously, the drop of the ball, which for me is just to get home safely without too many people on the road drunk as hell, and I can just get home and, kind of watch the stuff with my wife like I normally do. All right. So I want to make one more announcement. Next week, we will be having on a very special guest here on the Power Play Post Show, and that is Kyle Steffen. So Kyle and I will be recording next Tuesday right here on the Power Play Post Show, and you guys will be able to get to hear that interview next Thursday, which is very cool. So Kyle Steffen coming back on the show.
I want you to ask him how retirement's going.
Yeah, I certainly will. No, we're obviously going to talk about retirement. We're going to talk about coming back. Even like September 1st, like one of the questions I really have for him, I've already been thinking about it, is like, all right, September 1st of this year, instead of thinking about hockey, you were thinking about other things. And now here you are playing hockey again, and get his thoughts on that, because that is a very interesting thing. Listen, he was talked back into coming back, but you can't get talked back into doing something like this without it still having it in your heart anyways. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how the conversation goes with Kyle. He is so eloquent, talks very, very well, and I'm very excited to have him back on the show. So that'll be next week here on the Power Play Post Show, and we'll get him to do 6 more questions. So we'll have him on Sunday afterwards as well. And then we'll be back to our normal schedule then too, Taylor, which will be great.
Oh, I'm so excited. These 2 weeks for work are just rough.
Yeah.
I have some stores telling me that I'm too early. I have other stores telling me that I'm late. It's a lot of fun.
And then I'm bugging you to do radio shows. It's like crazy.
Well, I would much rather do this and, just kind of sit here and talk than deal with some of the people that I have to deal with.
Fair enough. All right. The Power Play Post is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. A lot of people have joined recently. Search for Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net. And we're going to get right into it. All right. So obviously, Happy New Year to everyone. We didn't say that yet. We should have said that. I mean, you guys are going to be listening to this. Some of you might even listen to it on New Year's Day, which is absolutely fine. Hopefully your hangovers will be quelled down by us talking, or maybe not. I don't know. It might give you a headache. But Happy New Year from Taylor and I and everybody at the Power Play Post Show. But let's talk about the biggest moments and events of 2025. So this is the calendar year that we're talking about. And I think the first thing that you have to talk about is winning the Commissioner's Cup for the second time, going back to back. And Taylor, your thoughts on watching this team kind of repeat and get a little bit better. And we're now starting to see possibly a third time of them getting a little bit better as well. But that was such a great moment for the organization, the city. This is the City of Champions. They had the men's basketball team for Binghamton High School also win a championship. Just a lot of great things. I think the Rumble Ponies won, if I remember correctly. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they did. I don't follow baseball in Binghamton as much as I should, probably. City of Champions. But talk a little bit about winning the Commissioner's Cup for a second time.
It was so entertaining, and I feel like it was so much better than just the first time. I don't know, this time it felt more heartfelt, if that makes any kind of sense.
Okay.
Like, don't get me wrong, the first one was great. You get your first cup and everything, but then to kind of come into the following season and immediately from the beginning say, we're going to do it again. And that's all you strive for is the entire season, is to take it, day by day, game by game, and just try to be better than you were last year and get that second one. It definitely felt like almost bittersweet to kind of get it a second time because of, Binghamton faces so much backlash. And even if it's not just Binghamton, Brant himself gets so much flack from everybody else in the league and like the league commissioners and everything. He's had so much like thrown at him. And even, the fan base, when he first came in, he's had so much negativity towards him, and he's managed to just, rise above it and come out and get a team 2 back-to-back championships that's never been done. So it definitely felt very bittersweet. And then at the same time, like there were certain players like you didn't know were going to come back. Like, you know, we had talked about, we didn't know if Yates was going to come back.
Right.
Don, we didn't know was going to come back or not. Even, you know, like Stefan, just there were certain players that we thought maybe that was the last time we were going to see them. So in my opinion, the second cup was better than the first, and it felt more heartfelt the second time.
No, I completely understand what you're saying there. And I think for me, it was just really nice to kind of see a plan put into place, right? They said right from the beginning, we are going back to back. Back to back was their motto. And realistically, they did it. They followed the steps all the way through. They lost the one game to Port Huron in the playoffs. They did the same thing to Carolina that they did the year before. And it was just a great thing. And it was probably one of the biggest moments easily of 2025, that championship on the ice and just the celebration. Everything encompassed that. And then the celebration afterwards outside the arena. It was just a great moment, great time. I loved it. And when I tie in the Power Play Post Show, to have a couple people come up and ask us for autographs and whatnot, and you got to do that in the yearbook. And I got a picture of that, which was really cool. They're just great moments that we can kind of tie into all this, you know, because we do take our time away from our families to do this. You're sitting there at a game with your phone trying to, take notes so you could go back, so you could write the Impact Players Report. And it feels like almost like we won just as much as them in some senses because of the coverage that we gave the team.
I understand what you're saying there, but I definitely don't feel that sense of like how you're feeling it. Just because as much as I love doing what we are doing, I still hold the team on such a different level than us.
Okay.
Like for me, it's like for me, it's almost like we treat these guys like they're celebrities, and that's kind of like how I put them on a pedestal kind of a thing. So I in no way, shape, or form would ever like compare myself to them in any way, even though like I know that we're doing this and we're talking about the team and we're supporting the team and that kind of thing. And it's been such a blast doing it, but I don't think I could compare myself to them.
I'm not comparing what we do to what they do. Certainly not. But doing what we're doing is very difficult. Not a lot of people can do this for the length of time that you and I have. Like you just talked about just a couple weeks of obviously, the last couple of weeks of your work schedule. And then we still get together and we prepare and we do a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. So all I'm saying is it feels really kind of nice that almost like, when they won a championship, we kind of being there to be able to celebrate was a really nice kind of treat on top of, the cherry of us being able to cover this team and being able to have some of the access that obviously we've been able to have as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And, being snuck onto the ice for the celebration was definitely not on my bingo card. No pun there, but.
Can't say that. Can't say that happened. That did not happen.
I got pictures to prove it. I can't really deny it now. So.
That's fair. CMAC winning the playoffs MVP trophy, 4 shutouts. I think that's something that's worth noting here because, again, I've said it. First 2 seasons that we won the championship, CMAC was a big, huge part of that. And I know he's one player, and it does take a team. 100% it takes a team. But CMAC in net, it's like a pitcher on a mound. It's like a quarterback playing football. Very, very important.
Yeah, I definitely think that other teams kind of coming into the playoffs, see CMAC and they're like, oh, Jesus, like we have to go against this guy. I remember still one of my fondest memories is when Carolina came to town last season and you said, guaranteed Ford's getting 2 goals on CMAC and he shut him out the entire game. Still one of my favorite memories just because, these players, there are so many good players throughout this league. And C-Mac he has this way of just shutting down and just absolutely annihilating these guys out there on the ice. And I would hate to be the other team that has to try to score on him. I know there's been some fluky goals out there this year, and it seems like that's how you got to be able to score on him, is to have some weird bounce-in goals, or if you get a good breakaway, you might have a chance. But even then, this team has a way of coming out on top, and he has been such a huge difference. And the last 2 seasons for the playoffs, I don't know anybody else. I don't know who else you'd want in net besides him.
Yeah, totally agree. The attendance numbers at the end of last season, 29 home games, 4,305 average per game, which is so impressive, and a total of 124,838 fans, second in the league last year, but that's okay, or at least at the end of the 24-25 season. But such a great thing. 10 sellouts. There was 9 in the regular season, 1 in the playoffs. I just think that the fact that the team led the league in the playoffs with 4 games averaging 4,425 fans and a total of 17,686, 1 sellout as well in the playoffs, outstanding by the Binghamton hockey fans. I think they showed their support, and it also says a lot about the back office workers that the Black Bears have, from the Trevor, the Bobby, Alex Jones, guys like that, working their butt off, Kelsey working their butt off to get tickets out to people and getting them through the doors. It really does say a lot, and I think it's a big moment or a big event that we had such great numbers for the second straight year for the Black Bears, because in Binghamton hockey history, I've said this before, usually they win a championship and the attendance goes down, or they get to the finals and the attendance goes down the next year. The Black Bears have bucked that trend. They have stopped that trend, which is really impressive.
Yeah, it really is huge. And it just kind of goes to show that these fans care so much about this team, even though it's not an AHL team or anything like that. It's just the type of community that Brant and Andreas and the whole Binghamton clan has built. It's just absolutely amazing to have the fan base that they do.
No, I agree. Re-signing Brent Sherwood for his 3rd full season, I think if you had to rank some of these things together, this needs to be near the top, because re-signing Brent Sherwood, and I know I give him a lot of credit, right? And I don't know if I should give him a lot of credit, but I do. I have talked to Brent Sherwood probably more outside of his family, outside of the players, probably more than anybody else. I have a lot of conversations with him, or when we do talk, we don't stop talking for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we get a lot of conversation in. But I can tell you right now, signing Brant Sherwood was huge. The recruitment, everything that he does, and we've talked about it a lot over the last few weeks, so I understand that. But I think signing him for his 3rd full season was huge by Andreas. I think it was probably one of the biggest moments in 2025, right next to winning the championship, because that meant a lot of these players were coming back.
Yeah, I mean, the second that that celebration happened and he came out there and said, "This cup ain't leaving and neither am I think it kind of already solidified. And, all the fans that were there kind of solidified in their head that, we could go and do this again.
No, without a doubt. And you're talking about this.
This cup ain't leaving and neither am I, baby.
Yeah, big moment. I mean, realistically, that was huge. Bringing in John Quenneville, who has 42 games of NHL experience as the associate head coach, another big moment, because this does not happen in the FPHL. We don't see this kind of high-quality talent come in to help coach this team. And now this team is, 22-2? At this point, going into their 25th game of the season. And there has to be the Coach Q effect here.
Yeah, I definitely, even somebody, I know you said that they weren't allowed to pick them because they're not technically the players. But even one of the fans had posted about, they would honestly say Coach Q would be their impact player, because it's made, you wouldn't expect it to be such a big difference, but it seems like in such a positive way that it actually has been such a huge difference that you didn't, it was kind of like the missing link that we didn't even know we were missing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he brings a level of knowledge to the game here in the FPHL and for the Black Bears that a lot of people can't necessarily always get. And the other thing is, Brant Sherwood made a comment. I think this is huge. He didn't know how to coach CJ Stubbs, right? Well, maybe in a sense, John Quinville being a young coach, never coached anyone really kind of before, comes in, has the high level skill that maybe he can coach CJ Stubbs. Makes it huge. That's a huge signing right there, because you really giving Brant Sherwood just another tool to make this team better by using somebody who's played up at that level, who's been in training camps in the NHL. All of that, it's just another tool. It's a big thing. I know when I talked to Andreas Johansson at first, he was kind of telling me, well, we're not going to pay him a lot. He's got to have to come in and earn his stripes and stuff like that. Andreas, I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this, I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback on that. No, you bring in a guy like that. It's important. You pay him a little, maybe a little bit more money than you might have wanted to, but you do that because it's good for the organization. It's good for everybody. It's good for Brant. It's good for the players. And honestly, if you win your third title, it was worth it no matter what.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's already making a difference. I mean, if you look at CJ Stubbs, he's about to beat his record he had last year in a fraction of the games. I think it's a no-brainer, honestly.
Okay. All right, the signings of Mac Jansen, Ivan Bondarenko, and Garrett Sargis, I think this was huge because, the team did lose some key players that did not come back. Dakota Bond and, of course, Don Oliveri, Cam Clark, Chris Mott were moved essentially and didn't come back. So there was a lot of people that were a part of last year's championship team. Out of these three people, who do you think was the biggest signing of the three?
Oh, that music you're gonna throw me under the bus right now. That was horrible. Oh man, that's a toughie.
Because all three of them are big signings. These are big signings.
They're huge. They're huge.
Yeah.
And
you
honestly,
don't have to pick one. You don't have to pick
it's one of those. It's one of those ones where you could pick one and make an argument for it. But I will pick one because I've talked about him several times in my impact players. I would have to say Bondarenko.
He's a playmaker.
And that's nothing against, Jansen or Sargis. Jansen has also been huge, but I think part of that is because of Bondarenko, because like you just said, he's a playmaker.
Yeah.
And it's been such an important part.
Yeah. Bondarenko has set up a lot of goals. He's been the Gavin Yates of this year, and Gavin's had a great year, right? But I think Bondarenko is doing what Gavin Yates did the last couple of years, setting up a lot of guys and really, setting up people for success. Bondarenko's been really good. But all three of these, huge signings. And, I think it kind of falls back to, re-signing Brant. You were able to make connections and bring these people in. Okay, rookies Dominic Tomei and Austin D'Orazio. I don't think anybody knew. I don't think anybody going into the season, and I'll even call Brant Sherwood on this if he says, oh yeah, I knew. Dominic Tomei and Austin D'Orazio are the best two rookies right now in the FPHL.
I think Zach Sirota might have an argument in this because, he wanted D'Orazio here in the worst way.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I definitely don't think anybody saw that coming. There's been arguments made kind of back and forth, nothing against past seasons. But you, me, and even Brant have said that this is the best goalie tandem that we've ever had.
Yep.
It's, Tomei's making Connor have to work harder to get starts, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, competition is good.
To kind of push Connor, because before it was kind of like a no-brainer. You're like, oh well, Connor's definitely getting this game. Where now it's like, flip a coin and pick, who's going to call it. So I definitely think this is making, honestly, it's got to make them both a lot better. It's got to make them both work a lot harder. And D'Orazio, man, that was, like we were so worried about, missing out on Bond, and, he's still a huge part of the Binghamton Black Bears, but having DeRazio come in and kind of fill that role, it has been so amazing to watch him do so well in the position that he's in. And especially after they got rid of the 5 forward, power play, and they brought him in on that, has just been absolutely dominating.
Yeah. Could you imagine if somehow, some way, DeRazio does not move up next year, comes back, Dakota Bond comes back, and you have them as your quarterback number 1, quarterback number 2 on the power play, and then you have a D1 pairing of Bond being a part of one and DeRazio being a part of another one? That would be nuts. Nuts.
It would be crazy.
Yeah, it certainly would. I our next big moment of 2025 is the addition of you to the Power Play Post Show team. Impact Players, the podcast. Fans, I want you in the comments, wherever you listen to this show, talk about how the dynamic of this show and basically even the Facebook group has changed because of the Impact Players and Taylor being on the show. Taylor, I really do appreciate it. You've done a great job. You're learning every single day new things about hockey, the rules, and all that stuff. You do a great job. You have obviously Jeremy, who has a wealth of knowledge. You talk to another certain person that has a lot of knowledge. And then you talk to me, which I don't really offer you any training at all. I do not help you in any way. Absolutely not. Except for I told you skating down the middle is the best way to go on a goaltender. That's the one thing I probably taught you. But you have been such a great addition to this show, and it's one of the biggest moments. I took the advice of somebody. And I'm so thankful that I did take that advice, because I'd been wanting to have somebody extra here to help to come up with ideas, be creative, all those things that I have to do all the time. Now I can go to you and say, hey, here's a little mini project. And you just seem to do it. It's been one of the biggest important things that I've done this year with the Power Play Post Show. And I thank you for that.
It's been a lot of fun. I remember you asking me to kind of join on, and I was so extremely nervous because I'm not a writer, for one. I've never been on a podcast, for two. And, generally speaking, I wouldn't say talking is my strongest point.
Me either, don't worry.
I often forget that, for me, this is just you and I talking back and forth. It doesn't feel any different than when you and I are at the game, we're talking before the game starts or during intermissions. Yeah. And so I often forget that this is actually a podcast that people go on and listen to. And, I see people, the fans like Katie and Miguel, who often tell me, that they're such a fan of the show and tell me that, we're doing a great job and that they love listening. And I honestly, I forget sometimes that people actually listen to us talking. So I'm always I'm still kind of taken back by that. I'm still not quite used to that. I'm used to people coming up to you and, talking to you. I'm not used to being included in that. Yeah. It's definitely something new. It's been so much fun. I'm definitely way more comfortable now than I was the first time I went to an Impact Player. Yeah. I remember being so nervous that I thought Jeremy was going to just turn me to stone with a look, because I'd write one sentence and make him read it. And he's like, if you're going to be like this the whole time, you probably just shouldn't do it. And then I just I sat down and I refocused myself, and it started to kind of come more naturally. The other thing that I want to say is I'm still so shocked, because I 100% thought that this was totally your idea of bringing me on, and that you weren't led by somebody else. No, I was led. Had no idea that ever happened. Yeah. And the reason that I constantly say that is because every time that you and I talked, Jeremy was always like, he's going to have you come on the show. You're going to be he's going to have you come on. He's going to have you do something, it's going to happen. And I was like, no, it's not. I'm we just talk, blah, blah, blah. And it was he kept putting it in my head that was going to happen. And I kept saying, no, that'll never happen. I'm not, I can't do a podcast. I'm not that kind of person. I couldn't do it. And then you had asked me, and he's like, I told you it was going to happen. So yeah, I was definitely didn't think that you were going to be swayed by somebody else telling you that you should bring me on. So it still shocks me to this day.
I definitely had a conversation with somebody about this, and I basically was saying how I've always had a partner on the show. I've always had like a co-host. I never really had a partner with the show, right? My wife has always been my partner when it comes to everything that I do, when it comes to binghamtonhockey.net and the Power Play Post Show, and I run all my ideas by her. She came up with the name Power Play Post Show because it had all the elements of hockey just kind of like involved in it, right? And so she's always been a partner on that. But I've always had co-hosts, but the co-hosts just usually read things. They didn't really offer a lot of the creative sense, which you're starting to do a little bit here and there and help with. And part of that is writing the Impact Players Report. I've always written everything. And now there's a piece of that is yours. And that makes you more of a partner than any of my other co-hosts ever were. I always wrote up all the outlines, which I still do, which is fine. But when I ask you to help with something, you eagerly just, go into it and help. So it was probably the best decision I ever made. But I also think that in 2025 was the best time to find somebody who, I think you're like 20 years younger than me, who, grew up in a world where social media is important, where all that happens, the way we promote podcasts today is so much different than the way we did 25 years ago when I started the wrestling podcast. Back then there was 3 wrestling podcasts, and they weren't even podcasts, or we didn't call them at that moment. We would just call them an internet radio show because we didn't know what to call them. Back then there was 3 of us doing a wrestling show back in 2000. And now today, there's probably 1,000 people doing wrestling podcasts. And for hockey, many, 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 many people doing hockey podcasts. And so it's just kind of funny, but getting somebody in 2025 like yourself who understands a lot more of how to do this and work this has been easy for me. And that's been probably the best thing. Because again, impact players, like I told you what I was looking for it, and you ran with it and you just did it. And it's been great. So to me, it's one of the biggest moments of the season, or of 2025 for me, at least personally.
Well, I got to be honest, when you give me homework and you're like, hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z before the show, I love that stuff because, one, I'm nosy and I like to know information. So I enjoy digging for it and figuring it out and kind of laying all the stuff together. I probably get really annoying at times because there are moments where you ask me for something and I'll send you about 80 messages about whatever subject we were, supposed to be talking about.
But Taylor,
it's been an absolute blast.
But Taylor, remember, you were doing some of this stuff well before you joined the show, because you were like, I think last year, or not last season, but the season before, you did like a whole thing about penalties and who took what throughout the league or something to that effect. And so you were already doing kind of some of that stuff before. That's the reason why we noticed, hey, she's got something here, and this is something to kind of bring into the fold and make you part of the team.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And there was a couple of times where I definitely just kind of went number happy and just kind of, I did a bunch of things on the fan page that kind of, it just wasn't quite about the games. And it was just kind of about the players and kind of here and there and just, some random stats. And it just kind of kept people engaged. So I definitely enjoy doing that kind of stuff. And it was definitely a lot of fun. Which is why I still enjoy doing it now when you send me out on, scavenger hunts to say.
Which is cool. Okay. So let's get into it, right? 2025, how many of the impact player reports have you done so far? I know you did the numbers, you crunched the numbers. How many have you done so far in 2025? For
the calendar year of 2025, because I started doing the impact players back in March, there have been 45 total.
Nice. That's 45 articles. You've written 45 articles so far that you've put onto the Power Play Post Show Facebook group, which is awesome. It's a great exclusive that we have there, and I'm very happy with that. So that's 45 of them. That's pretty awesome. I mean, for someone who didn't write stuff like that for ever, to be able to do that. Explain to people again how hard it is to do and pick 3 people, especially in a team. Listen, let's be perfectly honest here, folks. This team makes it hard to write about them sometimes, right? Because they're so good. Because sometimes you need to write about a little bit of the bad to make people appreciate the good, especially even in writing. When you're trying to critique and when you're trying to lay out what maybe happened, sometimes you got to talk about, hey, we could have done better here. Oh, we did really good here. Trust me, when I write all the stuff that I write, I'm looking for little tidbits where I can say, hey, this could be better. This could be really good. Explain to the fans how hard it is to come up with 3 players sometimes when a team just wins and wins and wins.
Well, that's a huge reason why I took to the fan page today and said, I do write the impact players, and I was curious for this season so far, who would your impact player be? And I specifically wrote, I want you to try to narrow it down to 1 player. Just so you kind of as the fans were doing it, and there was a lot of fans, a lot of the people who had commented were like, this is so hard to narrow down to just 1 person. And I think it kind of gave more of an appreciation of it. It's so difficult, game in and game out to just sit there and go, it's these 3. Sometimes it's a really clear picture. The one game with Tyson, I knew immediately when that happened, I was going to write about him. That there are certain moments like that where it's a very clear, I'm definitely writing about this, and there's nothing else in this game that could happen that's going to change my mind. So moments like that, it's certainly clear. But in other games, it's I could write about CJ Stubbs and his 6 goals, or I could write about this one moment with Sirota behind the net, or there's so many things. And I constantly look at my phone because, as you said, I take notes and I'm looking at it, and there's 8 people that I've wrote a lot about. So I've narrowed it down to 8, but now I have to narrow it down to 3. And it's it's so hard for me to just sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do these 3 easily. And sometimes I message you and I'm like, well, this person for sure. And then I take a business day to get back to you on the other 2.
Yeah, and and this is something that's very important, and I've told you this multiple times. Sometimes when you write, a lot of beat writers will write immediately afterwards, right? They write their story and they put it out there. Sometimes when you're writing and you're putting a little bit of an opinion on, or you're being subjective about something, sometimes it's good to wait till the next day, right? To kind of clear your thoughts and go, oh, wait a second here. Now that I've slept on it, this makes more sense for this reason or for that reason or whatever it is. All right. We've beaten around the bush enough here. Let's get down to it. Okay. I want you to give the fans in the calendar year of 2025, who is the impact player?
Connor McAnanama.
Okay. Why don't you tell us why?
Well, as I kind of just briefly mentioned, when I started the Impact Players, it was March. It was kind of, the year was coming to an end, I would say.
Ish, yeah.
So pretty much every playoff game, I think I wrote about Connor McAnanama, and for good reason.
Yeah.
So last season and this season, if you just take the entirety of the 2025, I wrote about him 15 times.
Wow.
Which is the most I've written about anybody, including, and that's it's hard because I've written about Bondarenko a lot, and he's, just been this season, but I've written about Connor McAnanama the most, and I definitely toss it around in my head. I wrote about him 10 times for the previous season and 5 times so far this season.
Yeah.
And another good runner would have been CJ Stubbs, because I've wrote about him 11 times in the 2025 year. So it was definitely, I had a lot of back and forth on who I could talk about. And I think it's kind of a no-brainer at this point that it's got to go to Connor McAnanama. I mean, he had, the MVP. I don't know. There's not much else that I could really say about him because everything else has already said it for me.
Yeah. So we'll also say this.
Give me 2 taps and a Ric Flair.
So I agree with you 100% on this. This is the guy that I would have picked as well. Without a doubt, there have been great players that have played in 2025, both on last year's team and this year's team, that played in 2025. A lot of great players. And, Don Oliveri is definitely one of those players as well. Tyson Kirkby, Gavin Yates. But when it all comes down to it, one of the hardest positions to play on the ice in hockey is hands down goaltending. And the reason why I think he ends up being your impact player, and you may not realize this, but when I say this, you're going to be like, yes, that's definitely one of the reasons why. He never gets rattled. He never has a moment where he just breaks down and freaks out, right? We're going to talk about Sebastian Rezar in just a little bit, and I hope everything's okay with Sebastian. But again, Connor doesn't get rattled. And even when he lost to Port Huron 8-6 in what I consider his worst game ever as a Black Bear, he never really got rattled during the game. He probably was frustrated as F about that, right? About that game. And, in March, just before or just about when you were starting to write about the team, I think it actually was the weekend you started, there was the game in Blue Ridge where he went ballistic on a guy because that guy was going ballistic on Tyson and that whole crazy draw. And that was probably the only time we really saw, Connor really kind of lose his cool, because the other, the couple fights that he's had in his career, I don't think it's because he lost his cool. I think it's because the other goaltender was dumb enough to go against him. I think Connor McAnanima shows the poise on the ice that I wish every single goaltender could have, but a lot of times don't have. And so when you say he's your impact player, I think one of the biggest reasons why is because he's cool as a cucumber. Nothing rattles him. And that's what makes him so good. That allows him to play his game and to make the saves that he needs to make. I think it's an excellent choice for impact player of the year in 2025.
It's definitely something that I've thought about. I've written about it before. I probably write about it every time I talk about him, to be honest, because it's one of those things that I truly think makes him such a good goalie. And I've often compared him to even Eggy or Sam Levecki.
Yeah.
If you watch those guys on the ice, they could be having a good game. But even if somebody gets a goal on them, you can kind of see they just kind of slouch a little bit, and you can see their head toss, and they're really reflecting on that goal, where you don't see that on Connor at all.
Right.
You get a goal on him, he's going to stand up, he's going to knock it off, and he's just going to keep playing, hopefully better than letting another goal in.
No.
But you don't see any kind of emotion at all in his face when he is playing. And I'm so glad that you said on the ice, because when he is a backup goalie and he is sitting on the bench, he is chirping louder than anybody else. And it is the funniest thing.
Really?
Because it's so funny. I've only seen it once or twice, and I think one of the times, I don't remember exactly which arena we were in. It might've been Danbury, but he was chirping the players. He was chirping it's so much fun to listen to him as a backup goalie sometimes. If you ever get the chance and he's all fired up, it's a lot of fun. I'm sure if he was a backup goalie in Watertown sitting on the bench, I'm sure listening to him would have been a riot.
Well, we need to get
I didn't hear him.
We need to get him mic'd up. We need to get him mic'd up.
Jeremy would absolutely love that. He thinks Connor is hysterical, and he would absolutely love to hear what he's saying on the ice, especially when dumb things happen in front of him.
Yeah.
I'm sure even the shove that he did in Watertown against number 88, I'm sure he would have loved to hear what he was saying to him as he was doing that. It's one of those things where even that's not him getting riled up or anything. It's just, he's so calm.
Competitive.
And yeah, and it's one of the funniest things that I like comparing him to other goalies, because even if you compared him to Colgan was losing his head.
Yeah.
He was trying to come at Connor, and he was just leaning against the goalpost, I'm just going to stand here and stare at the scoreboard. I don't know what else to do.
No, absolutely. All right. Great job. Great job with the Impact Players Report. I can't wait to see what 2026 brings for the Impact Players Report. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I have a feeling that the decisions are just going to continue to get harder and harder and harder for you. And I am sorry for that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but I think the fans are starting to realize how difficult it is.
Yeah.
When I asked them to choose one and they gave me 6, I'm like, see, it's not easy.
It is not. All right. Before we get into the preview of 3 more games against Watertown, let's talk about some news and notes, Taylor.
So as we have already kind of briefly mentioned that we were going to talk about him, Sebastian Rezar has left the Danbury Hat Tricks voluntarily and has been listed as inactive. And I know I've seen a couple people talk about how the voluntary was kind of something new that at least I've never seen it on the transactions page. So it's kind of something interesting that's come up.
Yeah, I don't know much about this particular terminology. Obviously, voluntary departure is he left. I think he requested to leave and they let him leave. What that means, I don't really necessarily know. I don't know what status that puts him in. Obviously, it puts him in as inactive. I'm guessing that the Hat Tricks obviously still own his rights. The only thing that I've heard is that there might not be the best communication and relationship between some of the players and the head coach. So that could be possibly a reason. But maybe he needed to go home for some reason, and they're just using this brand new verbiage called voluntary departure. I'm not sure. They also put Norika on inactive voluntary departure as well. It's the first time we've seen this. So I don't know really what it means, but I want to say something very serious. If anybody from Danbury hears this, if somehow it gets back to Rezar, I don't like seeing people leave like this. I'd rather see you play the game. I'd rather chirp your ass 15 more hundred times. If you left the game for personal reasons that you had to get away, you have to take care of a family member, totally get that, totally understand that. If it's because you didn't get along with the coach, okay, that's fine. But I would rather a player be able to stay and play the game that they love and us be able to chirp you a little bit, because it's a lot of fun for us. Because I think at the end of the day, Taylor and I probably see a lot of good qualities in him as a goaltender, and we definitely chirped his ass here on this show, and we enjoyed it and we had a lot of fun with it. But I'd rather see him playing in the net somewhere than not.
Honestly, I think a lot of the fans would even agree on that. Even facing Rezar, it's been, as some fans would put, it's been comical, to see him kind of either lose his edge or if,
right.
We got a lot of goals on him the last time. But truthfully, outside of that, he's faced a ton of shots from Binghamton.
Yes.
It's probably the most out of any other team he's faced. And probably if you combined the last 18 games that he's played, not from Binghamton, probably wouldn't even match the amount of shots he's faced from Binghamton altogether.
Yeah.
That game in Danbury, he definitely played off his head in that game. That's why we were so lucky to have Tyson, because he definitely won it for us.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely think people would agree. It's not, I don't think it's ever fun to kind of see players leave for any kind of reason, aside from, if they're just like a bad person in general or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think fans feel it no matter what. It doesn't matter the team they're on. I don't think the fans like to see players leaving for any kind of reason.
I totally agree. All right, let's move on.
The ECHL and the union have officially ratified the CBA. That's something that we kind of talked about on the Sunday show, and it had to be ratified, and it is officially over with.
Yeah, so I believe there was a ECHL game tonight on Tuesday night, and I know there are a bunch of games on New Year's Eve, so that's good. It's out of the way. A few players have gone up from the Fed to the ECHL. I think there's been some movement from ECHL players up to the AHL, so that kind of makes a little bit of sense, and I'm sure a couple SPHL players have gone up as well, so that's a good thing. And let's talk about tomorrow's game.
And as we've already mentioned, and the Binghamton Black Bears have posted themselves, the New Year's Eve game between the Binghamton Black Bears and the Watertown Wolves is officially sold out.
Third straight year that they've sold out the New Year's Eve game for the Black Bears, so that is going to be that's a good notch on their stick there. Getting 3 sellouts in a row on New Year's Eve, it's great. It's not always an easy thing to do, believe it or not. People have plans on New Year's Eve, but this is good. But then the next news really does affect the next 2 games for the Black Bears.
So on the 29th, the Wolves' Jake Schultz was suspended by the league for 2 games. He will not be eligible to play in the game on New Year's Eve or Friday up in Watertown.
Gee, I wonder why. I wonder what happened. It's just kind of crazy. All of a sudden, he was, not on the bench anymore, not on the ice anymore. Oh, wait a second, you know what happened. But we're not going to really kind of, spill out too much dish. He basically said something to a fan that he shouldn't have said. It's that simple.
Yeah, well, he did it right next to a linesman, I think, is the real nail in the coffin. I think if he had said it and nobody was around, probably wouldn't have been a huge thing. Probably would have just gone the rest of the game. Nobody would have cared.
Yeah.
But you say it right next to an official. It's kind of, that's a bad day for you. That was just poor timing, I guess.
And what was the reaction of the official? You told me this, and I think it's hilarious.
I didn't see the official.
Okay.
Jeremy's actually the one that told me about it, but he was just he just kind of looked at him and was like, really? Like it was just it was one of those things where he was like, you had to do this right now. It was almost like it's like one of those things where, like, if you're a fireman, you don't want to go on a call because you don't want a fire to happen, but at the same time, you don't want to do the paperwork. And that's, to me, what it sounded like, was he just didn't want to deal with the hassle of having to do something about it.
You mean the linesman? So he was like, really?
Yes.
Come on. I got to write this up. I got to send it in. You're going to get suspended. There's too much red tape here.
It just seemed like it was so much hassle for to yell at a fan. It seemed like it just wasn't worth it. And this linesman was like, you just made my job so much harder now.
Can you just be a good boy for one night and then we can just move on? All right. So obviously the impact is Jake Schultz is not going to be on the ice for obviously the game on New Year's Eve and, of course, Friday night's game. He'll be able to return on Saturday as the Black Bears and the Wolves will finish up 5 games in, I think it's 9 days. I think it's in our next part here. So let's get into the preview. We've obviously previewed them last week, but we'll go through this as we do always.
You seem very down about this, but listen, so far, the 2 games against Watertown have been more exciting than the games against Danbury combined. And I'm not knocking Danbury by any means. I think they're having a very rough year.
They are.
Danbury is like so lackluster, and the Wolves, while they're struggling to, win against the Black Bears for, over a year now.
Can I make a bad joke about Danbury? Before Razar voluntarily departed, didn't Section 102 voluntarily depart as well during one of the games? I mean, it's true.
5 minutes into the second, they very much were like, we're out, and waved everybody goodbye as they walked out of the building.
Peace, everyone. We're voluntarily departing.
I do think they waited for the first whistle, so they had
proper
good
etiquette.
Hockey, proper hockey etiquette. They waited for a whistle. They didn't just up and leave during the middle of a play. So I give them props for that. But it was very much like the first 5 minutes of the second, and they were like, "We're out, we're done."
Oh, that's
over.
That's comedy right there. You just nailed that perfectly. That's exactly how comedy should be written right there. You figured that one out. All right, let's preview these 3 games coming up.
Upcoming 3 games versus the Watertown Wolves. The Black Bears and the Wolves have 3 more games against each other, starting with the Wednesday evening on New Year's Eve. Puck drop on New Year's Eve will be 5 p.m., the earliest of the season in Binghamton. The Black Bears and the Wolves back up in Watertown Friday and Saturday for 2 more games, which will complete 5 games in 9-day stint between the Black Bears and the Wolves. The Black Bears have won all 7 meetings so far this season against the Wolves, winning 2 games in Binghamton and 5 up in Watertown. This past weekend, the Black Bears defeated the Wolves 6-3 on Friday night, then 6-1 on Saturday night. CJ Stubbs scored a hat trick on Friday night and then added 2 more goals on Saturday. Both Dominic Tomei on Friday and Connor McNanama earned wins for the Black Bears. The Black Bears are on a 14-game winning streak and have now beaten the Wolves in their last 15 straight games, going all the way back to the beginning of last season. Last weekend, the Wolves split 2 games with the Indiana Sentinels, winning 6-4 on December 19th, then dropping a game 6-4 to the Sentinels on Saturday.
Well, that was 2 weekends ago. That was my mistake. I left that in there and I shouldn't have.
The Wolves are 9-13-2 with 27 points and are 6th in the Empire Division. The Black Bears are 23-2-0 with 67 points and are 1st in the Empire Division.
Yeah.
For the FPHL.
Yep. All right. So the Wolves are led by Stephen Klink, 20 games played, 15 goals, 14 assists, 29 points, 3 power play goals, and 2 game winning goals. Yefan Mishkin, who had a really nice goal on, I believe it was Saturday night, 21 games played, 11 goals, 9 assists for 20 points, 1 power play goal, and 3 game winning goals. Darian Benchik, 21 games played, 6 goals, 13 assists for 19 points. Matt Lenz, I put him in as the starter here, highlighting, but for tomorrow's game day, I put in. No, I think I put in Matt Lenz. No, I'm pretty sure I put in Brendan Colgan. Doesn't really matter, I think, at this point. I hate to say it. 5-3-0 with a 4.33 goals against average and an 897 save percentage. The Black Bears are led by CJ Stubbs. We haven't talked about him enough in the past couple weeks, so there's that. 23 games played, 16 goals, 31 assists for 47 points. Actually, no, I think he's up to 50 points now. I think my numbers are completely wrong here. Yes, they are. Connor McAnama is 12-1-0. Dominic Tomei is 9-1-0. I did not update those numbers. Boy, I did not do a good job. Specialty teams. Binghamton power play ranked first, 42 power play goals, 28%. That is correct. I know that. PK is ranked first, 11 power play goals against, 91%. And the power play for the Watertown Wolves ranked 9th, 18 power play goals, 18%. PK is ranked 12th with 30 power play goals against and a 75% kill rate. One of the things that I would like to talk about is that the hype guy from Watertown is coming down. He listened to a little bit of the show last week. He made contact with me and said that he was going to come down. So hopefully, hype guy, we get to meet him tomorrow.
Yeah, I know it's not. He's been to Binghamton before. I can't remember the last time he came down. So I know it's definitely not his first time being there. But he is a super nice dude. He definitely, out of all the arenas that I've been to, he is probably the only one that I've really noticed that constantly keeps the fans involved. Danbury, they have Herm that goes around and does some of the intermission stuff, and
does he really?
They'll have the video boards. They do it's got the 3 cups and it moves around. You have to pick the cup and you win. Everybody wins something kind of thing. They do very little there. It's usually just kind of an intermission thing every once in a while. But the hype guy up in Watertown, he's constantly talking to fans. He's constantly doing something. He's very approachable, and he's a super nice guy. He's very easy to kind of get going back and forth, and it's all in good fun. It's seriously a riot to go at him. I know the funniest thing that happened, aside from the joke that he made, was at one point he tried to get a wave going. Yeah. And the Binghamton fans, most of them sit right behind our bench. Well, the first section he started with, they did it, and then nobody in the Binghamton section did it. So he came over and he was like, "You guys know what a wave is, right?" And he sat there for like 2 minutes teaching us all how to do the wave, and it was just comical. It really was. It was a lot of fun. Well, something that I kind of want to bring up. Yeah. As you mentioned that the Wolves are led by, and I'd be interested to know if Klink is going to be playing, because he mentioned, or a fan had mentioned, he hurt his shoulder. Yeah. When he took the puck in Saturday's game. So that's something that'll be interesting. Another interesting thing is Darian Benchik. After the game, some fans were talking to him, and I believe he said something about he was gonna be leaving, like a personal leave kind of thing. Okay. So I don't even know if he's playing or gonna be playing, or if he's even around. Wow. I don't really know the story there. I do know that they were talking to him, and we had kind of we're leaving at that point. So I kind of caught the tail end of it, but it definitely sounded like he was going to be out and not playing.
So obviously the Watertown Wolves may not be the same team as we just saw them even just this past weekend.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like things are getting interesting for the two teams that we face the most.
So I did find the comment that Jay, the hype guy, wrote. He said, "Hey, Bobby, podcast is well done. Even though it's all about the Bears, nice balance between you and Taylor, color and play-by-play content," which is pretty cool. One of the fans alerted me to the mention on the show. Thanks, Taylor. Glad the smash burgers were fun. Was fun. We try to keep it fun and entertaining in the den. Always enjoy when my friends from Bingo come up, no matter the game outcome. I even borrowed Legends bucket hat on Friday. My wife and I are traveling down on Wednesday to the game. I'll be wearing my hype guy jersey. So hope people are friendly and say hello. He obviously reached out. I know Gary Ryan is a big fan of the hype guy as well. You're a fan of the hype guy. So maybe Ben should go over and talk to the hype guy from Watertown. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Might as well. I mean, listen, it's a fun rivalry. There's nothing, we've never had the same heated, gross rivalry that we've had with Danbury, with Watertown. It's always been fun on the ice and kind of even fun, I think, between the fans as well. So hopefully we can keep it that way. But the hype guy, Jay Madison, should be coming down to the game, and it'll be really kind of cool to hopefully hook up and meet with him.
And if you weren't there at the game on Saturday and you missed the Sunday wrap-up show, the joke that he is referring to is when he came over to the Black Bear fans and he just very calmly asked if everybody if you've ever had a smash burger, to which most people replied yes. Yeah. And he goes, they're really good when they're made out of bear meat. And it caught me so off guard because I wasn't expecting it. It was a good one. It was very comical. And it's one of those things that he does, and he's very witty and quick on his feet about that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of fun. I know him and Derek, they go back and forth all the time. It's a lot of funny moments that happen up there. So I'm excited for him to come in, and I hope he does have a good time. And hopefully we get to meet up with him and get some chats going, because I'm sure that'll be real interesting ones.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, I think that's all we've got for the show. The Power Play Post Show is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. Search Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything BinghamtonHockey.net. Or Binghamton Hockey, visit binghamtonhockey.net. And before we do end this, I just want to say we are releasing some shorts on YouTube. So go to YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when these hit. They should be releasing every day at 10 o'clock in the morning. And these are going to be anywhere from 4 minutes to 9 minutes long of us just talking about certain topics, or maybe part of an interview with a guest that we've had here on the show. And it's something new that I want to just get out there to all the fans. A nice quick hit of the Power Play Post Show. You listen to the show maybe on a Sunday night or a Monday morning, but you still want to hear stuff on Tuesday and Wednesday before the new edition comes out. There will be these small little things, and they're going to be exclusive just on YouTube. So definitely go over to the YouTube page and subscribe. It's been kind of fun to start getting into putting those out there. And I think that'll be very cool as well. And I think it surprised Taylor because one of them started off with her voice, and she did not expect that.
No, I definitely didn't. It's one of those things where when Jeremy wants to listen to the show and we get in the car and he goes, I'm listening to the show, and I'm like, oh no. Because obviously I know what you and I talk about because, I'm part of the show now. So I know everything that we say. I don't need to hear it again. I don't need to hear my own voice. I just fast forward to the interview, and that's where I start listening. Him, on the other hand, he wants to listen to the whole show, and I get to sit there and listen to myself. I'm like, oh no. There are times where I'm like, I warn him. I'm like, and this is what I say, so be prepared. And he's like, it's kind of funny to hear his reactions. He doesn't always agree with me. I think if you really want some disagreements, that's where you need him, because him and I definitely don't see eye to eye on certain things. That's because you and I agree on quite a lot.
Yeah.
And he's had these conversations with you before about things that, he wishes happened or didn't happen. And him and I will go back and forth, and he goes, I'm going to talk to Bobby about it. And I'm like, okay, he's going to say the same thing I am probably, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, sure. Yeah, that's probably pretty true and everything. But you should listen to yourself. It's the best way to get better is to get used to hearing your own voice and then trying to improve on that. I know for a fact that it's something that's very hard for me to do. And there are times when I hear a crutch word. Absolutely. I used to say absolutely every single sentence. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I still do it every once in a while. I'll fall into those crutch words. I've done that. The word for some reason is a filler word that I cannot get myself to not say, but I need to really certainly try to do that. Sometimes a pregnated pause is better than saying the word Just saying. I gotta be conscious of that. So it's, I just did it right there. So it's good to actually listen to yourself. It's hard to listen to yourself sometimes, but you definitely should do it. I think these little shorts are going to be fun for people to kind of get a quick hit of us. And if you're somebody new, that's perfect. You get to hear those kind of shorts and then go and listen to, the full show, which is pretty cool as well. So, all right. Thank you to Rob Lapollis, our MC, John Petitucci, our music director. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And we'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.